That all relates to our conversation today because one of the primary things we do in civil affairs is stability operations, which includes both preventing national crisis before it happens as well as getting things back to normal as quickly as possible when it does. To understand how that's actually done, we need to take a look at the doctrine and the models that we use to conceptualize civilization as a system, and understand the sources of stability and instability within that system. So first we have the U.S. Army Stability Operations Series of Doctrine, 3-07, uses the Fragile States Framework, in which a destabilizing state is considered a failing state. Once a state fully destabilizes, it's considered a failed state, and typically some form of crisis like a civil war or a genocide occurs. It typically requires external intervention to pull a failed state out of crisis and elevate it to recovering state status. This is where U.S. stability operations comes in. If effective, the state fully recovers, becoming a stable state once again. As for how we determine when a state is stable versus failing versus failed, as civil affairs officers, we primarily analyze and work with what the U.S. military calls the operational variables, which are defined as the political, military, economic, social, informational, and infrastructural elements of a nation. In stability operations, what we're primarily looking for are issues within a nation's operational variables that are not only causing dysfunction within that individual variable, but is causing dysfunction across multiple variables, so that fixing those issues will have synergistic effects across the civil system. The operational variables are all intertwined and folded back over on themselves, such as you can never really talk about any variable by itself because they all influence and are influenced by every other variable. This was famously illustrated by this graphic presented to senior generals at a conference in Kabul, Afghanistan, about the operational variables in Afghanistan, to which General McChrystal, the commander of U.S. Forces Afghanistan at the time, said, "When we understand that slide, we will have won the war." Now, there is of course no actual usable information that can be gleaned from this slide, but it does effectively illustrate the complex and interconnected nature of the operational variables.